Hello everyone. I hope you're settling in well to your fellowships. Today we're going to be talking about personal leadership plans. And this is a leadership practice which I've had great success with business leaders and with students, and it is a pleasure to pass it along to you. What we'll be working on is a process to clarify who you are, what you're about, and the work that you want to do in the world. I hope that you find it helpful. So today we're going to be talking about what is a personal leadership plan. I commonly refer to it as a PLP. The different components, why it's valuable, why you should spend time working on this, how to develop this plan, and how to present it. Yes, present it. We want to share the highlights of our plan at the end of the fellowship. So I hope that you find that process of not only creating the plan, but presenting it as valuable. So as we begin, a personal leadership plan, or PLP, is a document, about a 10 to 15 page document that describes who you are, how you want to conduct yourself in the world. We've been talking about values, ethical leadership. You've read something about code of conduct, or you will be reading about that from me. And you'll end up having essentially your own personal strategic plan. So why to do this? It isn't even the result that is as important as the process. It gives you time to wrestle and clarify who you are, writing what your initial thoughts are, and then figuring out what would you stand by over the long haul. Those of you who have participated in strategic planning recognize that this is much the same. You may start in an organization by saying, we sell handicrafts if we work with local men and women to give them new job opportunities. But as you go through the process, you realize that what you're really doing is creating sustainable community. We need that time to process and wrestle. So I hope that you will find this process to do that for you. As you practice the final presentation and are only given 5 minutes to present the highlights of who you are and what you stand by, it becomes an iterative process that brings you down to something that you can stand confidently and describe. So as we go through, the end of a program presentation, as I was describing, is a 5-minute PowerPoint presentation. This is a professional presentation. You are going to present the highlights excuse me, of your PLP. You want it to be inviting. Use images. Even video can be helpful. But again, remember, you only have 5 minutes. What you want to do is excite people about your follow-on project, but also to help them to understand a little bit more about you. This will hopefully support the networking process. So the components, there are 8 components of the personal leadership plan. A cover page, as you'll see, all of this is outlined in that worksheet that was one of the supporting documents for this presentation. So a cover page, an introduction, what your vision is, your key goals, projects, and your leadership brand. I'm going to go through each of these. An action plan for your project, barriers and constraints, and a conclusion. So let's jump first to the introduction. The introduction is 1 page about your story. And this highlights the importance of story in leadership. What you will find, especially when you are holding a vision and trying to change a community, that the story is, the ability to tell a story is critical. So employ images in your final presentation to tell your story. And as you could see when you watched the TEDx video that I presented, being able to show you pictures of me as a child, me with my family, connects you to me and to my story. This will be a little difficult to read. You'll find it in the worksheet. You'll find pieces of this in the worksheet that I've sent. But enjoy reading how this Cambodian activist described who she was and why she was doing the work that she did. And so you may want to stop the video at this point and read this introduction. The next piece is your vision. And you, as you saw, attached again to the supporting readings is that you have a vision exercise that you can do from a book by Peter Senge. And hopefully this will help you clarify your personal vision. So one of your follow-on assignments is to complete that included Senge visioning exercise. And in a half to one page, can you describe your vision written in the present tense? It's what makes you come alive. It's what will make us want to follow you. So here is a vision example from a young woman who wants to eradicate human trafficking. Again, you may want to stop the video at this point and read what excites her. But notice that it's in present tense. In the United States, we like to say, fake it until you make it. So it's this idea of believing in something even before it comes true. That is another way to enlist others to see your vision. As Martin Luther King once said, I have a dream. And this is your way of telling us what your dream is. Next piece of the personal leadership plan is your key goals and projects. Now you've been working on a follow-on project. This is the approach to make it even more real and to make your vision a little more real. So think about what goals would help you move a little closer to eradicating human trafficking, to eradicating child soldiers, to eradicating war on this planet. And think about what are the projects that would help to make you move forward in that way. So what goals emerge from this vision? You want to connect them. Include your follow-on project in your final presentation. This is another way to further create the detail and to make that more real and make sure that it connects to your ultimate vision. So long-term goals, you want them to be full of energy so that I get excited when you tell me. Short-term goals, we want them to be smart. And you will have learned about this before, but a quick review. Each goal you want, when those are short-term goals, to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. So these are examples of long-term and short-term goals. So you notice that the long-term goal has, it's vaguer, but it's exciting. I'm going to push for passage of anti-trafficking laws in my country. But a short-term goal, you can tell when I'm going to get it done, exactly what it is, and know when I've completed it. So notice the difference of these different goals. And you want to include 3 to 5 goals in your personal leadership plan. So continuing on, you will notice the next piece is your leadership brand. Think of you as a company, as an NGO, as an organization. You want to be able to provide what's the culture, what is the basic components of our organization. So we want to know who are you? What are the values, the traits, and the skills that you stand by? So how do you want to lead? Include this in this section. What skills do you wish to develop? What traits do you believe are critical for your success? And again, coming back to ethical leadership, what values or code of conduct do you stand by? So if I suggest in your leadership brand is to have 10 traits, values, or skills that you want to be known. And you can use that pre-departure assessment, that leadership assessment that we talked about at the beginning of the program, as a place to look for traits and skills. And what have you realized in your fellowship that makes a successful leader? It's best to give a word and then a description. So as someone is reading this, or you are trying to remember what you are about, that it is clear. So here's an example. Integrity, that I want to be, I wish to be remembered as someone who is integrated and authentic. And you can read more here about what integrity means to me. We want to make this a living document, that it really supports us. Draw for those 6 leadership styles as well that we worked on at the beginning of the program. For example, that another possible trait could be that you want to model respect, that you want to remember that conflict holds opportunity. And we're going to be speaking more about that in a follow-on session. That you may just very simply want to become a great public speaker or have mastery in emotional intelligence. So moving on to the 6th portion of the PLP, your action plans. And you should have been working on action planning, or you will be working, I apologize, you will be working on action planning during your fellowship. And this is an important part of creating and further developing that follow-on project. So you want to have a SMART follow-on project and include the action plan for it. So it's your to-do list of what you need to complete over these next 6 months to create a beautiful follow-on project and complete your CSP fellowship. You can use the presentation at the end of the fellowship then to get everyone else excited about what your follow-on project is and have them support you. And we have seen that happen in previous years with great success. So see this as an opportunity to sell a little bit what you're doing in your final presentation around your follow-on project. And barriers and constraints. When you create a strategic plan, one of the processes that I recommend is to spend time around strengths, weaknesses, barriers, and threats. Another way to look at that is what are the barriers and constraints. So what might be holding us back? And from a personal standpoint in your personal leadership plan, what would hold me back? So what do I need to overcome? It's pre-problem solving. It's planning. So what might stand in your path and how would you overcome it? So as you can see partially here, I may not have enough time to prepare for further study, but I know that I need to get a master's degree. So let me think through how I'm going to deal with this constraint. And last, a conclusion. I always say don't underestimate the importance of the conclusion. This is your time to think deeply about what have I learned during my fellowship? What have I learned as the process of clarifying who I am? And just in that reflection, I learn more. This is a key skill of leadership, is to be self-reflective and to, at an end of an experience, debrief with yourself or with your team. So when you're doing strategic planning, I also recommend to debrief at the end of the process. What have we learned about ourselves, about this organization as a result of this experience? So you will find in your attached materials for this presentation, a PLP presentation sample. And notice how the how the presenter engages the audience. What else would you have included as highlights that that person may not have? You want to include about me, so you want to give information, that introduction. You want to have your vision, your goals and values, and a conclusion. And the rest of what you conclude is up to you. But remember that when you're including this, that you only have 5 minutes. And this is a highly professional presentation. This is one that you will probably be presenting to members of the public, State Department representatives, IREX representatives, and it's something you may want to show when you get home to a public audience. So here's an example of a student. I thought you might enjoy this. This is how he began his personal leadership plan to engage all of us in the audience. You can see that you want to hear more and learn more about this young man and why he was dressed up as the Dalai Lama. Here's a conclusion example from the young woman who created the human trafficking presentation, or PLP. So she included a quote, and I recommend that. Give yourself something in your final presentation that lets us know you're done. A thank you slide, or a quote or something. It will help you as well as your audience. So if I was going to present to you about my personal leadership plan, these are some pictures that I might include. And as you watched my TEDx talk, you know that I am the oldest of 4 sisters. So you see them up there, that I love to teach. And you know a bit about my family now as watching that TEDx talk. So this would hopefully engage you about me and want you to learn more about what my follow-on project is and how you might help me. So public speaking tips. Public speaking is a lifelong practice. I've done a lot of public speaking, but as you can tell, there's more that I can learn, and you can watch that in my TEDx talk. So the way that I try to remember how to get a speech ready is to create a script. 5 minutes is about 2 pages double-spaced. That's it. So write it all down, what you're going to present. Practice, practice, practice. So, using my own example, the speech that you watched was 13 minutes in front of about 300 people. I wanted to be ready. So in order to do it well, it took me 40 hours of practice. So that is essentially a 1 to 184 ratio in terms of speaking to practicing. I practiced while I was running. I practiced in the shower. I practiced while I was driving to work. So see when you're going to present publicly just how much practice so that you can stand confidently and not stutter and fall in any part. Ask for feedback. I presented that talk to 5 different audiences before I presented it to the large audience. And in each one, I asked them, what am I doing wrong? What are my nervous habits? Am I stuttering? Am I forgetting? And you can tell I'm trying to, this as an example, looking up, slowing down, saying asking people to tell you what you could do better. So your follow-on assignment for this presentation is to complete the Peter Senge exercise. Create your vision. Include a headline for that vision. You're going to be developing over the next months your personal leadership plan document, and you're going to create a PLP presentation. What's wonderful is you've been given the opportunity to turn all of those in to me for comment by the included due date. And then I will provide you comments on both the presentation and the document, and you'll have the opportunity to revise them. And then practice, practice, practice. So in closing, if you have any questions, you know that you don't hesitate to contact me via email or on the group site. And we will be talking about the questions that you have around this document as well as the presentation in our follow-on conversation. I hope you enjoy this process as much as I have and find it as transformative as so many of my students and clients have as well. So all my best to all of you, and look forward to speaking to you very soon.